Today's typing video is Cate Blanchett, and she was recommended to us by a viewer, so thank you. As usual, we will credit you in the description box below. Catherine Elise Blanchett, AC. Oh, the Order of Australia. I don't remember seeing that before. It was established on February 1975 by Elizabeth II, Queen of Australia. Okay. So she's
Australian?
So she has the Order of Australia, and she is an Australian actor and producer, regarded as one of the finest actresses of her generation. She is known for her versatile work across independent films, blockbusters, and the stage.
Yeah. She was great in The Lord of the Rings, which is like my childhood movie.
Yes.
Okay. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
3, 2, 1, go.
Tell me how you thought about this role and how you approached it and what you wanted to make out of it.
Well, the things that I've always enjoyed playing most in theatre and in film as well, there have been parts and stories that I have had no idea how to approach at all. I think that as an actor I can often confuse anxiety with excitement. And so I think because of that excitement, and particularly with a role like Elizabeth, I just immersed myself. I read obviously a lot of biographies about her, but it was the discussions, I think, that, and the various opinions that came out of conversations about her and about the legacy that she left England, and really how she culturally transformed England as we know it. And what I was curious that, listening to all the cast, the English cast, that they had such differing facts, and they kept saying, no, this is backed up by historical fact, and I thought that's amazing. So I tried to sort of embrace all those disparate opinions about her and galvanise them, and I think that in a lot of ways that's what Elizabeth is actually doing. She's galvanising the opinions that her enemies have about her and using them against them. So
that's in part of how you came to see her. Tell me more about, once you immersed yourself in this. You had a script.
Okay, let's stop.
You immersed yourself in.
Okay.
The first thing I noticed is she's completely FI.
I would agree with that. Yeah, she's very cool.
Yes, I don't know, Effie has a certain reactivity to it, and she's always, you can tell she's reaching for, you can see this introspection or feeling with her. She's saying, this is how I felt about it. She's very sure of herself in that way,
Right.
The homework has been done, and that usually means you're an introvert in whatever function you're seeing.
Right. So FI in this case.
Yes. Yep. Should we go on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
This extraordinary woman, to use extraordinary one time too many. What did you find, and what was interesting to you about her? And what did you say, if nothing else, I want to get this about Elizabeth?
Well, Shekhar Kapoor, the director, from the very beginning, he was talking about her as an unformed being. And from all the letters that I read about her, and certainly all the people that, the ambassadors, foreign ambassadors who came and met with her, right from, not only before, it was before she was queen, it seemed to go against that. And so I couldn't understand what he was talking about. She seemed to be so self-aware, and she had really strong performance instincts, I think, because right from an early age she had to wear a mask in order to survive. She had to, I suppose, mask her religious differences to Mary, her sister, because Elizabeth, I guess, was more aligned with the Protestants, and Mary, obviously, was a Catholic. So I found, I suppose, to inhabit that naive young girl in a very knowing way, and in a lot of ways, I suppose, I held my cards as an actor close to my chest whilst trying to inhabit the mask that Shekhar was interested in, if that makes
No, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. What about her shaped her in coming to give her the strength that she had to survive and to rule for so long?
Well, I do think, and this is
All right, let's stop
something that
again.
Cate did talk about a lot in being.
Interesting that she's typed as an INFJ,
Mm.
which of course, one of her main roles
It's
is playing an INFJ. But when you look at this woman, like, she's definitely lacking FE.
Yeah.
And she's definitely a thinker woman.
Yeah.
She
I
is
mean, this is
someone
quite a
who,
mellow interview from what
Right.
we've seen, because we have
Yes.
looked at Cate Blanchett before.
she's very
She's in FI
confident.
mode.
Yes, but I would say TE, because she's very confident in sharing her thoughts. She doesn't seem to have a problem. And I think in this interview, she's about 30 years old. So still, a young woman. But she seems very confident, even at this age.
Yeah. Yep. She's being asked something, and then you can tell she's like, I mean, you just look at her face, she's thinking about how it relates. I mean, you always tell me about this, like, whenever it's an interesting question. I'm like, how does that apply to me?
Yes, you do this all the time.
And it's just like a state of being, really. And you familiarize yourself with it, and then you start to notice it really easily. It's just the quality of being more introspective versus the quality of just sort of like looking at your environment and just being in it more. So that's the difference between the two. And the typical sort of behaviours you get out of it look a lot different, because the FE is very warm and smiley, and then the FI is just a bit more like serious and blank faced a lot of the time. I mean, there's exceptions in type.
I mean,
like ENFP looks a bit different.
Well, and I think ESTJ can be very warm. The females, well, and the males as well, they can come across as being very warm.
Yeah. Yeah, it just depends more, and FE tends to not depend as much.
Yes. It's more consistent across the board in that way.
Yeah. Right.
All right, let's keep going. I have something else I want to say, but let's watch a little bit more.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Indian, I think it sort of gave him a different sort of sensibility on it. He kept talking about destiny, and I think that Elizabeth had a very strong sense of destiny. And so I think that, and she's desperately ambitious, incredibly ambitious, and probably had a lot more natural ability as a leader than her brother and Mary, her sister, had.
She was deadly ambitious.
Yeah. So but I think the thing that moved me most about her was her isolation, and how she had basically, by the time she was 9 or 10, there had been rebellions in her name, and people had most of the people. Her mother was obviously beheaded by her father, which obviously dislocates you from your family.
Anne Boleyn and Henry VIII.
Yeah. So I think it was that she was a still point in an incredibly turning world, and that she had to.
That's really funny. I actually thought she was on about Elizabeth II, and then I was like, what?
No.
Beheaded by her father?
No.
When? Yeah, she's on about Elizabeth I, I guess.
Right. So there's something I've noticed about ESTJ women in many that I've known and have typed that I don't personally know. So what I've noticed about TE, I think in some ways that it comes across, it can be hard to distinguish. Is this TE or TI?
Yes.
Because a lot of times TE just kind of rolls it out.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of times with TE where I notice where it's not as fluid. It's kind of jerky.
Right.
Where it's not that it plods along, but it's kind of like that, like she's being in this interview. And I think
Yes.
earlier on that would have confused me because I would have thought that to be TI.
Right. No, this is a great point.
But I do believe that TI, like when I go off on one, it's very fluid, but I can only sustain that for so
Yeah.
long before
I'm
then.
exactly the same.
Yes.
I used to fall for this when you get a really fluid, very revised TI user.
Yes.
And they're like, bam, 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 just like.
And you think, oh, that's TE.
You
Look
think,
at him
wow,
dishing it
TE.
out. Yeah.
But it's not.
No. And it
we
actually makes
watched-
more sense if you think about it.
Yeah, we watched that Guy Ritchie, one of his, not in the video we've done, but there was another video that he had, and he was just like, bam, 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 just absolutely chucking it out. And you might think TE, but there's just a different flavour there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It takes a while to process when they really know what they're talking about. It's quite hard to distinguish sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought what you're seeing here, I think, is, like I said in the beginning, it's FI. She's hesitant.
Yes.
She's slow because she's introspecting how she feels about it, and then she's sort of laying it out very slowly, like, oh, there's this, and then I feel this is like that, and then she's just laying it all out slowly with the TE. You can see, this might be why they say she's INFJ, because she's very deep in introspection here. But it's FI.
And I think it's her style of communication. Like I said, she's very disjointed a little bit in how she communicates. And so maybe people would look at that and think, oh, she's hesitant in her speaking. She's hesitant in her communication.
Right.
But that's not TI. That's her with TE reaching into the FI.
Mm-hmm.
How do I feel about this? And then communicating it out loud.
Yeah, she's obviously very, she's been very inspired, is that the right word, by this historic figure. And she has her own personal feelings about it, and she's really put herself in the shoes of this character.
Right.
And what it must have been like to, be a queen in that period and under the circumstances she's been in, and you can see that this is her way of acting. She empathizes and is there and really boils down on the essence of that kind of circumstantial in order to portray her characters. Yep, it's much like Johnny Depp. Very similar.
Right.
And it's kind of a bit of I think it's a bit more of a novelty in acting, because most actors are FE users, and they sort of have a more of a mimicky kind of style to their acting.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell.
Remember, each video is not a comprehensive analysis. If you want to know more about a specific psychological type, check out the playlists where we have unique takes for each person.
Here are some suggested playlists for you to watch or other relevant videos.